Hey guys, I'm Matt, this here is Logan, and welcome to Cobb Hill Farms. By now, I'd like to have little baby pumpkin plants germinating out of the ground, but that just isn't the case. But in today's video, I want to go try to get our pumpkin seeds planted. We've got more seeds than ever that we're going to try to put in the ground. And to make this job just a little easier on us, we're going to use this John Deere 1240 4-row corn planter that's been converted over to be able to plant pumpkins. This corn planter belongs to a good friend of mine, same one that lets me use a round baler every year. I don't know really anything about corn planters other than it takes a seed from the hopper and puts it in the ground. So here's what I do know about this corn planter. The 1240 was manufactured by John Deere somewheres in the late 60s, early 70s. I don't know exact production years, but that's what I could find. This particular unit is on 36-inch row centers, so the spacing between the planter units is 36 inches. We're going to utilize the two outside rows. That's going to give us an overall spacing between our pumpkin rows of about 8.5 foot. The only other real thing about this planter that I do know the difference of, they offered these planters with row units with two different variations. The first variation is what this is, it's a plate planter. The other variation was what they call a finger planter. The plate planter utilizes these plates that go down inside the seed hopper and they rotate in a horizontal motion, and a seed falls down in the gap, and then once it rotates around and matches up with a hole in the seed tube, then the seed falls through down into the trench and then it's covered up. From what I understand, this was a pretty fail-safe, simple design, and it worked really well. The other variation of this planter was a fingertip planter, or sometimes referred to as a plateless planter. That had a contraption that was mounted about in this area right here, and it had a plate that rotated vertically in there, and it had a bunch of steel fingers on it. And what would happen is seed would fall from the hopper and collect down in this area in that plate, and as the plate would rotate around, there's a bunch of steel fingers on it, spring loaded, and it would grab a hold of a seed as it's making its way around. It'd carry that seed to the top, and then at the top there would be an opening on the back side of that plate, and it would push, the spring-loaded finger would push the seed into the tube, and the seed would travel down into the trench and then plant it that way. Enough of me yakking about it here. Let's get it over the field and we'll talk about it some more. Alright, so the first thing I got to do to get this planter set up is I got to get the forward and back pitch just right. We want the fertilizer discs along with the seed trench cutters to touch the ground at the same time. So in order to do that, luckily we have the FARMALL 460 with fast hitch. So that's how we're going to set that. That looked pretty good from where I was standing. I think that fast hitch is set right where it needed to be. Alright, so here we got all our seeds. I got them broke down into gourds, smalls, larges, and specialties. I have a list here on the order of which I'd like to plant them, so we'll see how this works. Again, we've never planted with a corn planter before, or a pumpkin planter, so this is all new, so I'm just trying to figure out as we go how I'm going to do this. But we have all our different seeds here between the two boxes. I'm going to put them on the planter, and the idea is I'm going to put a variety in the hopper, and as Stacy's driving the tractor along, I'm going to keep an eye on the hopper and keep moving the seeds around to get them fed out, and then I'll just keep adding the different varieties, and eventually we'll have all the seeds in the ground. So that's the game plan. I think a good spot for all this is in the hoppers that we're not using. We are using a little bit of fertilizer with this. This is a 555. It's an organic fertilizer. This is just something that I got a good deal on, so I figured I'd use it. Organic doesn't really matter to me as these aren't eating pumpkins. Stacy has assumed her driving position. She's gonna run first gear with the TA forward. We're gonna try that, seeing as we really don't have a clue. So to raise and lower this thing, pulling the lever back raises it, pushing the lever forward sets it down. And set it all the way down till that ram is completely collapsed. But I forgot a step. I guess before we go too far, I gotta get the drive chain hooked up. Yeah, we'll do the same thing over on this side. They got these spring-loaded arms that come down and contact the drive chain. I think that's everything. it's hard to believe we're almost done already. Well, that's all we got left. And considering the room we got and what we got left, I think we're gonna call that good.
If you guys are enjoying this video, hit that like button.
Well, we figured since pumpkins got done awful quick, we're gonna plant our sweet corn for the year. The two center hoppers, row units, have sweet corn plates in them. So we're going to use the two center hoppers and get our sweet corn planted for this year. This is just sweet corn that we use for the family. It's not anything we're going to sell or anything like that. But we might as well use the technology while we got it. And now I'll shift some of the fertilizer to the other side of the hopper. The augers in these things are split in half, where from about here over draws the fertilizer to that hopper, or that row unit, and then from about here over draws it to that row unit. So now we need most of this fertilizer over here on this end. That was impressive. About an hour and a half's time, we had all our seeds planted, and like I've said before, that's as many seeds as we've ever put in the ground for pumpkins. Usually when we've done it before by hand, it's an all-day affair, Logan and I, and we even came up with kind of a decent way of doing it, using the cullipacker for making the trenches, but it was still a lot of labor-intensive work. So this definitely worked out a lot better. Alright, so now we're done. I'm going to empty out these hoppers with the sweet corn seed. And I think to do that, the easiest way is probably just to take the hopper right off and dump the contents into a bucket. This thing has the craziest jack, or stand I should say, I've ever seen in my life. Raise it up. Yep. Set her down. Bye-bye. Well, that ought to be good for the night. This thing's going bye-bye tomorrow. My friend's nephew wants to get his pumpkins planted, so on to the next pumpkin patch it goes. I really can't thank him enough for letting me use this. This was night and day difference from doing it by hand, the way we've been doing it in the past. For those that are new to the channel, we've been doing pumpkins on the farm here for 5 years. It's the first thing we started out doing back before we even had livestock on the farm, and even before we lived here full time, back when Mom and Dad owned the place still. And it's just, there's a lot of labor involved, and this just took a lot of that labor out as far as planting goes. There was no labor really. Walking behind it, making sure the seeds are going into the plate, and the planter does the rest. So we're going to be doing this from here on out. We'll never plant them by hand ever again. So I'll either be looking for my own planter, or if I can keep borrowing this one, whatever the case may be. But this is just awesome. I can't get over how simple and easy it was. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you like our channel, as always, we ask you to subscribe. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.